Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was son of the great Atlas. Part 2, hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. Naruto was in love. He wished for ramen, and he got it. He wished for more ramen, and he got more. He wished for even more ramen, and he got even more. Paradise. The Biju were groaning in dismay as the campers merely stared wide-eyed at the steadily growing bowls of ramen that seemingly disappeared from existence in the void that they realized was Naruto's stomach. Naruto just kept slipping them down, showing no intention of stopping, even when he started to turn green. 37 bowls later, and Chiron put a stop to it, afraid for the boy's health and his stomach, which looked like the Hindenburg. Naruto sighed sadly at once again being separated from his ramen. It wasn't as good as AM and Tucci's, but it was still good. He got up from an empty guest's table as it became apparent that anyone who sat next to him would not be clean afterwards. Naruto sighed as he walked out contentedly, his sadness disappearing as he relished the warmth in his belly. You almost beat your previous record, 3 more bowls, and you would have gotten into the 40s. Kurama said in mock encouragement, while on the inside, everyone knew he was impressed. Naruto grinned, a gleam in his eye. I'll get him next time, he said aloud, before his face turned green again, and he held his stomach. Don't talk about the kid, you might blow up. Naruto nodded, and waddled up to Peleus, who looked like he had seen a ghost when he saw Naruto's humongous belly peeking out from his shirt. Naruto nearly fell over as Peleus whipped his tail around, and grabbed him gently before yanking towards the dragon at dangerous speeds. He would have hurled, but he wasn't going to do that on Peleus, no way. This dragon was badass. The Biju sighed at realizing Naruto wasn't going to be moving a lot today, and so brainstormed on what to do. Naruto, you said you used Cage Bunshin in this world before, correct? Naruto groaned before mentally nodding. Try, and summon one, outside of Peleus' circle. Don't try and cap it, just pour some out, and see what happens. Son Goku said exasperatedly, he was obviously tired of the wait. Before Kukyo could caution him, Naruto put his fingers together in a cross, before releasing some chakra. Cage Bunshin no Jutsu. And then all hell broke loose. There was a massive explosion of smoke around Peleus, who was instantly on guard, protecting Naruto and the tree with fire in his eyes, until they widened in confusion. Standing in front of him was another Naruto. And behind him, another one. And another one. And more. And a lot more. And a lot more. Once the smoke rolled off the hilltop, nearly 200 Narutos were standing around, smiling like idiots. Naruto stared at all of them in shock, before shuddering in horror. Oh my Kami, I didn't realize my control was that bad. The other Biju were impressed as well. He hadn't used any of their chakra, and his own reserves were still strong at over 98%. Chakra control. Naruto shouted from Peleus' protective barrier, before keeling backwards, and groaning, holding his stomach. The clones nodded, before disappearing in a blur of speed. By the time the campers came up the hill in preparation for battle, there was nothing there, but a confused-looking dragon, and a green blonde with a large stomach. Chiron wondered what the hell created that large explosion, but upon seeing no evidence of it, he simply shrugged, and told the campers it was a false alarm. A few looked glad, while others were disappointed. Apparently, they were hoping for a fight. Which would have been bad if they faced an army of Narutos. It just wouldn't end any other way than a huge loss, and a lot of orange. Naruto relaxed in the cool embrace of the dragon, and the calming effect of the fleece, before drifting off into a small nap to ease the pain. And it was nice. Until a centaur rudely woke him up, though it was kinda funny watching his reaction to Peleus snarl at him for disturbing him, which just made the dragon that much cooler. Naruto, I need your help, he said, trying to mask his somewhat skittish self as the dragon glared at him with all the might of a predator. Naruto opened his eyes groggily as he looked at the startled centaur. Am I the best person to ask? Chiron transitioned from startled to guilty. Yes, your ability to walk on water will be most advantageous. 2 of my campers, a satyr and a cyclops, need your assistance. They have been kidnapped by a traitor, and their lives are at risk. A traitor? Naruto thought in surprise, before his mood soured at the notion he too had been on the receiving end of a traitorous bastard. Mizuki left him with an important lifelong lesson regarding it. Naruto narrowed his eyes in recollection, and knew he simply had to. He stood up and stretched, noticing the look of urgency that kept nagging the corners of the centaur's mouth. How far? Naruto said, squatting and shifting leg to leg. Not far, near the coast, I will take you. Naruto looked at him seriously, pumping himself up for a run as he quickened his movements. His neck cracked, and he stared at Chiron with as much focus as Peleus. My help is different from most. When you ask me to do something, I do it completely. If I am attacked, I deem them an enemy, and they will probably die quickly. If you give me this mission, anyone who gets in my way will be killed, grievously injured, or flee. Can you accept the consequences? Will you take responsibility? Chiron was surprised at the sudden change, before looking at Naruto with hope. They are held by Luke Castellan, a traitor who keeps the company of monsters. If he keeps with the enemy, he must accept his role in this. All the monsters except Grover and Tyson are fair game to slay. Naruto nodded, before patting Peleus, and smiling, thanks for protecting me. The dragon yawned, and nudged him in the back, pushing him forward. Naruto chuckled and walked in front of the centaur. You run, I will follow. Chiron looked like he was told a joke. Naruto, you will be left behind. Now it was Naruto's turn to be told the joke. Trust me Chiron, I'm a lot faster than you think, I'd like you to try, and outrun me. Chiron looked highly skeptical, but nodded, we leave now. And then he started to gallop, and then run. Naruto was at first surprised, before it grew into plain shock at the speed, before grinning excitedly. A chance to really go. He has been caged in fear of damaging himself for too long. It's time to throw caution to the wind, and go. Naruto kept pace with the centaur, even pulling ahead. You better stay in front if you want to lead, he said tauntingly, before running faster, increasing his speed along with Chiron's, who had a stupid look on his face. Their speed kept increasing, until the world around them lost definition, and became a blur of colors. And Naruto never felt so alive. He laughed wildly as Chiron kept pace with him. He could go faster, he wanted to. Chiron, is our destination a straight line from here? Chiron soon looked at him curiously, before adjusting their course so he was. Now we are, at this speed, we will get there before long. Naruto grinned, before sending some more chakra into his system, feeling the warmth power him up. Catch me if you can, old man. Naruto yelled, before shooting off, the ground cracking under his feet like dried twigs. He almost broke the sound barrier, but he had to be careful as it would deafen him, and there was some stuff in the way. It wasn't a straight shot anyway with obstacles in his path. Chiron almost stopped running from the stunning sight of the blonde, just vanishing into a streak of light, before pouring on more speed, the competitive spirit flaring in him. It wasn't long until other centaurs noticed them, and started running with them. What's the rush, bro? Why are you running? And then they would see Naruto fly by. Holy shit, that kid's fast. Pretty soon, a whole herd of centaurs began to join them, and then they magically pulled out all this shit from nowhere, including banners, trumpets, and whoopee cushions. Party ponies were emblazoned proudly on all their clothes and items. The Biju immediately cut Naruto's sense link, as they could no longer watch what unfolded around them without experiencing mental pain. Naruto laughed like a maniac, and kept speeding up, his clothes starting to tear from the forces of the wind, and his white cloak billowing behind him like a large tail. He was laughing so hard, it was liberating, and he never felt so free. Having such potent peaceful chakra running through him, it was like nothing he had ever felt before. It wasn't long before they thundered onto the shore, and saw the cruise ship just off of it. Naruto gave a whoop and battle cry, not caring in the slightest for stealth, as they would definitely be able to see him on approach. With a grin, he ran headlong across the water, making sure Sobu was ready to catch him. He began his assault. He switched into battle mode, and poured on more speed. He started creating visible distortions as he charged at the boat, and just as he was approaching, he jumped at it, his legs forward in a double-legged kick. He focused a large amount of chakra into a small battering ram on his feet, and pointed it like a large spear, and sailed at the ship's hull. That made an entrance, a glorious one fitting for a hero. Naruto quite literally blew a hole in the side of the ship, punching through like a stapler through paper. It decelerated him considerably, so when he reached the other side he could actually come to a halt, before standing up, and then running at the ship again, hearing the cries of war from the centaurs eager to join. Naruto ran at the ship, and then with a superhuman jump, he cleared the deck, and double-handed ground slam a monster's head, when he was about to bite the heads off a satyr, and a blonde girl. The monster easily disintegrated, and the shockwaves from the blow cracked the deck beneath him. Naruto touched down softly, and stared at all the monsters, and a blonde-haired man with a scar on his cheek stared at him with surprise and annoyance. "Kill him," was his only words, before returning to a bloody and beaten boy with black hair and ocean green eyes. Well, that's friendlies recognized. And enemies identified. Naruto's eyes narrowed, before laughing silently, much to the monster's shock. Well, I now know who I am to save, and to kill, thanks for clearing up the misunderstanding. And then Hal came, and said hello. Arrows of all types began raining down, and centaurs leapt aboard, and started shooting paintball guns, and boxing glove arrows. Naruto grabbed the satyr and blonde girl, before chucking them behind him, and then grinning at the monsters. I have never seen something that truly deserves to be killed as you lot are. This will be fun. Naruto then closed his eyes, and held his hands forward in a grappling stance, and then lunged at them, eyes opening on the way, revealing their green and silver glory. And then he began massacring them, with his bare hands. He didn't have any other weapons, and since he had no divine blood, the other enemy's swords passed right through him. That was funny. Naruto channeled chakra into his fists, and they glowed with blue power, the wooden deck cracking under him if he stayed in place for too long. He smashed through them all, no contest in strength. He made his way to the downed ally, and when he got there, he blasted his chakra outwards, knocking them back for a moment. "What do you need?" "Water threw me into the pool." Naruto nodded and didn't question. He simply grabbed the kid's legs and slung him at the pool, not even watching him slam into the water before sinking. Naruto faced all the monsters, and then he grinned. "Hey Son Goku, mind if I borrow some chakra?" Son Goku grinned. "Kid, give them hell." Naruto grinned, and then let it loose. Fire started smoldering around him, and the ground started to blacken as it burned. Waves of heat grew as Naruto's grin never changed. He crouched low, and took in a deep breath, before bringing his hands into two fists like a small pipe, and blew out explosively. A large river of molten lava spewed from his mouth, splurging everywhere as the monsters fled or burned in agony at merely being next to it. Naruto resisted the urge too, as he didn't know his limits yet, and ran at them, encasing his fists, feet, and shoulders in flame. And then a large shadow encompassed him. Naruto turned to face an enemy, but to his surprise, he saw the black-haired teen standing in the pool, its water reaching high in the air. And what surprised Naruto the most? There was no chakra, no hand signs, he did it all with sheer willpower. The wave came crashing down, crushing monsters, and sweeping them out to sea. Where the water hit the cooling lava, a massive cloud of acidic steam exploded outwards. If the monsters had somehow still survived, the mist would soon fix that. Naruto turned on his heel, grabbed the kid he was tasked with rescuing, and jumped off the ship. He noticed the other three on the backs of centaurs, and decided the mission was a success. Naruto saw Chiron, and grinned, before turning to the kid on his shoulder. "What's your name, kid?" "Who are you calling, kid?" "Well, who you calling, kid? Brace yourself." "What?" Naruto did a small spin, before hurling the boy off his shoulder, and slinging him at Chiron. "Old man. Catch." Chiron whirled around, and saw one of his campers flying at him at high speeds. Chiron caught him without a second thought, but glared at Naruto. Naruto only grinned cheekily. "I ain't carrying him, and he is your camper." Chiron sighed, and slung the kid over his back, before galloping off. Naruto was about to follow, but a voice told him a much better idea. "You're not actually going to let that boat go, right?" Kurama said innocently. Naruto grinned, his cheeks starting to hurt from the frequency of this dangerous smile. "Hell no." Crouching in a low stance, and holding his hands in front of his sternum, he gave a cry of defiance. A black ball of pure chakra began to form in his hands. It was so dense light itself was starting to distort around it. He heard a few gasps of disbelief on the sidelines, but he didn't dare stop. This kind of compaction would kill him if he lost control. The ball continued to grow in size, before it reached the size of his stomach, and then his torso. Naruto gritted his teeth in concentration. But he never stopped smiling. "Vijudama!" Naruto roared, before igniting chakra in his hands, launching the ball at the ship. The ball started to glow a bright white, before Naruto turned to the audience on the beach, which included the 4 kids he saved. "Get down." They immediately complied, and ducked behind trees, only to look on in horror as Naruto ran past them. "Not there, you idiots. Run." They all gave chase, running like prison escapees as they hauled ass up the nearest hill, and took cover behind it. They all peeked over, unable to resist seeing what this attack could do. If Naruto, someone who just spat out lava onto an open deck with allies around, was okay, then this ought to be quite the show. The attack continued to glow dangerously, before it glowed too brightly to look at, then they heard it. It was earth-shatteringly loud. It made Zeus's thunderclaps look like the applause of parents at a kid's play. It bellowed through the air, breaking apart the ocean floor, and throwing water every which way. The shore where they had hidden before was blown away, and tossed about like an omelet on a frying pan. They felt the ripple in the earth as the shockwave slapped them through the hill, and a massive mushroom of energy lit up the sky for miles. They all looked at the explosion in fascination and horror, before looking over at Naruto when the show was over. He looked a little tired, but that was it. And that scared them more. "What the hell was that?" An eccentric centaur yelled out, unsure of how to process this. Naruto grinned at them. "That, my audience, was one of my strongest attacks, the Bijudama. I focus the energy that runs within me, and compress it into something so dense it warps the light around it. It is not my strongest attack, but it definitely gets the points across." Chiron and the others looked at him in shock, while Naruto was still grinning. "Chiron. Yes? I may need to be carried back. I haven't used that in a while, and it's tiring me out. My body is going to shut down soon. Carry it back, will you? Give me to Peleus, he will know what to do." Chiron looked confused, before Naruto's knees buckled, and failed. He toppled over, face first into the ground, but just in time, the black-haired kid caught him. "Thanks to you calling, kid," Naruto said quietly. The kid snorted, while the centaurs gave small laughs. "My name is Percy, son of Poseidon. Thanks for saving me, and my friends." Naruto chuckled quietly, his eyelids forcing themselves closed. "Percy, I'll remember that. I'll see you back at camp." And then Naruto fell slack. Percy looked at the kid in his arms. He looked around 15 years old, blonde hair, whisker marks on his cheeks, white cloak, and that strange energy about him. Percy sighed, before turning to his companions. "Chiron, can you give me a hand? He is kinda heavy." Naruto stood in the center of his mindscape, the Biju gathered around him. Naruto. What did I say about no Kukyo? Asked calmly, though it only made her seem more angry. Naruto cowered behind Son Goku, who looked a little pale as well. You said no, but the Bijudame isn't. I figured that since it costs so much chakra it would be okay for me to use. Kukyo sighed, and looked to Seiken to explain. Naruto, it's not that you couldn't handle it, it's that your body hasn't used a heavy taxing in a long time. Forcing that much chakra through your system, regardless of how much you have, is dangerous. We live here. If you destroyed your pathways, where would we go? Naruto frowned, but nodded. I never meant to endanger you, but I believe that with all your help, if I focused on it, I would be able to pull it off without any trouble. All of you can do it on your own, so helping me do it with each other's help made sense to me as being easier. They were silent for a time, before Matatabi turned to Kurama. Look, more proof, the kitten really has a brain. You're so rude. Naruto yelled out childishly, before looking at all of them, and bowing deeply. I am so sorry if I put you in danger, it won't happen again. The Biju looked at him for a while, before sighing, we do not blame you, but we wish you would listen to us when we say no, we mean it. Not everything we do is for your safety, it is for our own as well. Chimei said simply, and Naruto nodded, before bowing again. I'm sorry, I understand. The Biju grumbled in agreement, before Kurama reached forward, and flicked Naruto lightly in the head, sending him falling backwards. Naruto sputtered, but when he saw it was Kurama, he merely smiled, and looked down. Yeah, I get you. And then he smiled at all of them. Alright, I'll wake up now, I'll see you all tonight. He started to leave, when Shikaku caught him, and giggled, remember, you need some sand. Naruto nodded at the insane Tanuki, before patting him on his sandy head gratefully, disappearing as he left his mindscape. Naruto's eyes opened as he felt himself surface, and as he did so, he heard a lot of voices muttering in shock and awe. He cracked his eyes open, hoping they weren't talking about him Peleus asleep or something. They shouldn't be this close. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, and then he saw all the backs of the campers, staring at the tree. He wasn't sure if he should be even there or not, when he heard a sudden gasp. Peleus lifted Naruto up so he could see, and just as he did, he noticed the blonde girl, Percy, and Satyr holding a black-haired girl in spiky black clothing. She looked around 15 years old, and had piercing electric blue eyes. I'm Thalia, daughter of Zeus. I thought only Dryades could do that. It had been an eventful few months for Naruto, 6 months actually. After a daughter of Zeus fell out of a tree, he actually got some peace and quiet, now that everyone had a different person to hound, and he made sure to exploit every moment of it. He slept with Peleus every night. Sure, he missed some matters, but come on, it was a dragon. Who would pass that up? And while he was conversing with his tenants, and discussing information about the world they lived in, Naruto's private information force was gathering intelligence in the new world he lived in. His chakra force practiced chakra control, and elemental manipulation. Ever since he had seen Percy Jackson manipulate water by sheer will alone, it told him all he needed to know. It was possible. After that, Naruto spent his 6 months with Peleus, the nature spirits in the camp, and the Athena cabin. Why? Well, they were the children of the goddess of wisdom. If he was ever going to gain information on the world, it would definitely be there. Of course it was difficult, sometimes they would get this weird glimmer, and go on about architecture, and then enter this weird comatose state, and become unresponsive. It was at that point he would have to exchange the defective child with another cabin mate, and resume the lecture. Their average lifespan and recuperation wasn't very long, but it helped him sort through the information better with the breaks it gave him as he swapped them out. After the end of each month, his clones would dispel in set intervals, and he often spent that time unconscious with his Biju friends, sorting through his information. He would then create a new force, and continue. His chakra force was making leaps and bounds, dispelling at the end of each day. Probably because of his more passive chakra nature it was much easier to control than before, it was his size that was the problem. He remastered the Rasengan after the first month, a testament to how large his reserves had expanded, and then began learning an assortment of Biju techniques, and how to best use them. He had gained many new abilities from his friends, and it took nearly all 5 months to learn them. He was still inexperienced with them, but he was getting there. Shikaku gave him a strange form of sediment manipulation, where he could control sand and other finely ground minerals. He was currently working on increasing their size, and forming them into shapes like Gar used to do. It was pretty freaking cool. Natatabi assisted him in giving him immunity to heat and flames, along with the ability to create it and extinguish it. He couldn't manipulate it though, that was his current project. Asobu focused on his durability and patience, along with defensive water manipulation. Naruto was already fairly strong, but if he could increase the density of his skin to an almost armor-like state, he would be a force to be reckoned with. It was a combined effort with Chimei. Son Goku focused on heat pressure tolerance, elemental combination, and Taijutsu. His style was extremely powerful, and when Natatabi's flexibility and Asobu and Chimei's durability and armor came in, he would be unstoppable. Kakum focused on the nature of the elements and chemistry and healing. She was very firm in that the mind can win any brawl before it starts, and be much more dangerous than any weapon in his arsenal. Except for his stupidity, but it was a double-edged sword. Seiken focused on observation, reaction, and pure chakra manipulation. It was a skill only she could use, and it was very effective. Because Biju chakra is so corrosive, she could manipulate it in such a way it broke down and destroyed almost everything, but it was very dangerous and required strict and focused use, otherwise he would die trying to use it or kill an ally. To be focused on muscle memory and defenses with the Sobu, along with stealth and speed. Daiuki focused on precision, calligraphy, and misdirection. Something his ink was very handy for. He was a pro at distraction and misdirection, a skill that was definitely dangerous. And lastly, Kurama. He focused on one thing, and the most important. Control. He was always there, beating on Naruto for control, forcing him to focus and narrow it down. Naruto really wasn't sure if he was going to survive, but at the end of the 6-month period, it was obvious he had made some serious improvement. He was getting ready to attempt his strongest wind attack, the Rasen Shuriken, when he felt a ping go off in his mind. It was strong. It reminded him of the fleece, but different. It was stronger, but more tranquil, like a crystal clear lake at the bottom of a cave. Pure. Naruto turned to the source, and frowned in thought, before setting off. Kid, where are you going? You can't practice this attack anywhere near anyone else. Naruto shook his head. It's on hold, I sense something, it's like the fleece, and I need to see. The Biju sighed, another chase. Great. Naruto set off, wondering what the hell could give off such a pull. Have you ever seen a manticore? You know, the body of a lion, tail of a whatever that is, with a human face, and several rows of teeth. No. Well, let's just say it isn't a welcoming sight. It was a few hours before Naruto managed to get to where the pulse was going off, and burst through a snowy tree line to see this. A manticore, holding Annabeth in his grasp, with Percy, 2 new kids, and Thalia facing off with him. Manticore was badly wounded, with silver arrows lodged in his body from multiple angles. He was staggering about, and I rapidly realized that he was heading for the cliff. I sent a quick prayer to Kami in hopes that I wouldn't get shot, and rushed forward. Annabeth. Percy screamed in horror as they tumbled over the edge. Just as he was about to give chase, several girls in silver clothing appeared and held him in place, preventing him from jumping. You are in no condition to be jumping off cliffs, boy. Naruto ran right past them. I got her. They all looked up in shock at his sudden appearance, and a few tried to restrain him, but he was in and out faster than any could grab him. He ran to the edge and jumped to the opposite wall, before running down it at high speeds. He saw the manticore with Annabeth. They had reached the bottom, and were clawing to reach to shore before being swept with the current. Naruto snorted, this shouldn't be too hard. Naruto leapt off the cliffside, and shot at the manticore like a bullet, striking its head with a momentum-enhanced stomp, shoving his head underwater. In that instant, he reached down, and grabbed Annabeth, before crouching, and jumping up to avoid the clutches of the angry manticore. Naruto took a moment to examine the beast, before turning, and running at the wall, and then running up it. His chakra control was nearly back to normal, but it was still iffy at best, so he really shouldn't do this for long. He sprinted up the cliffside, Annabeth screaming the whole way, which was partially annoying, but funny all the same. He shot out of the canyon, before somersaulting forward, and catching Annabeth in both arms princess style. He landed with hardly a sound, which would have been pretty cool if Annabeth hadn't been screaming the whole way. Missed opportunities. Naruto stood up slowly, letting Annabeth catch her breath, before gently putting her down, and letting her sink to her knees, getting her bearings. You're lucky I was passing through, would have been bad news for you. Jackson really does have bad luck following him around, huh? Annabeth's eyes snapped up as she recognized him. Naruto. What are you doing here? Naruto looked at her with a small smile. Didn't I just say I was passing through? Annabeth looked like she wanted to yell at him, but looked down in embarrassment as she realized he was right. Naruto laughed at her expression, and held her up, before being punched in the shoulder playfully. Dragon boy, been a while. Thalia said with a smirk. Naruto smirked in kind, and 2-finger prodded her in the forehead as he walked by, angering her slightly. Yeah, been a while, Thalia. Anything new? Not really, just watched you run up a cliffside though, that was interesting. How'd you do that? Naruto looked at her for a second, before spreading his hands open with a stupid look on his face. She flicked him in the shoulder again, a small spark zapping him in the process. He chuckled as he turned, and saw Percy struggling to get up and run to Annabeth, but the girls were holding him down. The hunters of Artemis, she said flatly, though a small amount of reverence and annoyance came into her tone. Naruto frowned at that, and walked over to him with Annabeth, who seemed happy to see Percy was okay, and likewise. The silver girls seemed to notice Percy's lack of struggling, and released him, letting the two hug, though they were obviously annoyed by it or at Percy for that matter. Naruto looked at the scene before giving a dramatic theatrical bow. Well, I'm glad I could be of assistance, but I must be on my merry way, catch you later. He said as he gave a mock salute, before turning to run. Naruto. Percy shouted out. Naruto turned to look at him, and saw several hunters aiming their bows at him, with a young girl standing in the middle. Naruto fully turned around, hands up in surrender, looking confused. Have I done something? Quiet boy. Naruto turned to her sharply, startling her slightly with his eyes. You seem to misunderstand something. And then in a blur, he was gone. Only a few of the hunters could actually see him move, and only one had time to react. Naruto turned to run, and he did, but as he was about to make it to the forest, a girl of 12 appeared in front of him, hunting him back. Naruto looked surprised at being intercepted, but landed gracefully. The hunters all launched their arrows at him, and in their shock, all of them hit his skin, and shattered. The arrows all bounced off, and broke beyond repair, as if being shot into a large rock. The hunters looked shocked at this, and quickly drew another arrow, but as they did so, a large presence started to manifest, and they looked on in shock at Naruto, who started to gain these weird tattoos on his face, and his eyes. They turned silver, and green. Even the 12-year-old girl looked shocked at this development, and readied herself for combat. Naruto vanished, and reappeared directly in front of her, staring at her eyes from inches away. It's you are the beacon. She looked confused for a moment, before shooting her leg forward in an attempt to push him back. And to her astonishment, he didn't move an inch. The dull thought echoed like hitting wood, but he didn't give any indication of being struck. Who is this man? Naruto looked at her for a moment, before backing away, and then turning to his camper friends, completely dismissing them. Naruto walked over to Artemis, who was still doing some first aid on Percy, and pointed at the 12-year-old. That's Artemis, isn't it? The goddess of the moon, wilderness, and the hunt, right? Artemis nodded. Yes, that's her, though I wouldn't speak that way about her. She hates males already, don't make it worse. She chastised quietly, while Naruto just snorted. He looked at Percy, who was still leaking blood, and sighed. Dude, you have a serious issue with Lady Luck, you need to work it out or something, cause at this rate the sky's gonna fall on us. Percy snorted, his face a little pale. Yeah, no joke huh? Naruto extended his hand, which started to glow a faint green, and placed it over his wound. His features immediately relaxed, and color returned to his skin. The blood reabsorbed itself, and his wound healed. The hunters gasped at his skill, while Artemis narrowed her eyes. Naruto stood up a little shakily, but nodded down at him. Rest a bit, you'll be fine. What are you guys doing out here anyway? I mean, with those two, and all? He asked, pointing at a pair of new kids. That's Bianca, and Echo D'Angelo, demigods, the Manticore was after them. Grover said happily, and Naruto only smiled, before turning to the two kids, who weren't sure how to feel about this whole situation. Well, I'm glad you're okay. Too soon to die, am I right? He said with a smile, before turning to the hunt. Well, thanks for the punt, I'll be going now. Hold it boy. The name is Naruto. Shut up boy. Okay girl, what do you want? She glared at him, she didn't like him poking fun, all you demigods are staying with us. Naruto only crossed his arms, and mirrored her tone in a playful mockery, finger wagging, and all. Ah, but you see girl, I am not a demigod, therefore I won't be staying, and you couldn't make me either. The girl didn't appreciate this mockery, watch your tone boy. Naruto only turned, and walked away, watch my ass girl. He said as he gave a few exaggerated sways as he moved away. That did it. The girl lunged forward, slashing at him with her knife, and to her surprise, it passed straight through him. Naruto turned, grabbing her by her shoulders, and slung her back to where she was before, sending her flying like a paper aeroplane. The girl spun, and landed on her feet, looking at him in shock. Naruto only grinned at her. I wasn't lying when I said I was mortal, bye girl. And then he resumed his walk only to have the 12-year-old standing in front of him. You will stay, it is my will. She said, though he could tell the thought of having another man around only disgusted her, and that didn't really make him want to stay. Naruto looked at the girl for a few moments, before walking right around her, and continuing on his way. You would ignore goddess boy. She seethed, drawing her bow at him. Naruto turned, and stared at her. I mean no disrespect to Lady Artemis, but my entire venture here was to find a presence of nature energy, which turned out to be you. Her eyes narrowed, you were seeking me out. Naruto shook his head, no, just the nature within you. It doesn't need protection as you possess it, so I have nothing to worry about. She frowned, who are you? Naruto sighed, my name is Naruto, why? She growled at me, and pointed her arrow at me point blank, what are you boy? Naruto gritted his teeth, but withheld his anger. I have given you my name, and you will call by it, or I will leave. She growled at me even more, and pressed her arrow tip against my throat. You are not going anywhere boy. Not until you have answered my questions. Naruto glared right back, his eyes changing from silver to crimson red, with slit black pupils. My patience has limits. Goodbye Artemis, I pray we never cross paths again. Naruto turned around, and walked away, until an arrow thudded into the trunk by his head. When he turned, he saw an 18-year-old woman standing there. She had long auburn hair, a breathtaking face, perfect curves, and muscles with glowing silver eyes. You dare? She called with absolute anger, her silvery clothes fluttering under her magical force. To be dismissed by a mortal, a boy. It was unforgivable. Naruto noticed the pressure she was exuding in this form, and growled in annoyance. He turned to her, marched in front of her, and stood staring straight into her eyes, rage visible in his black-slit pupils. I will give you this one chance to let me go freely, or else. Naruto said, his crimson eyes staring into her silver ones. Naruto let his pressure match hers, just to let her know he wasn't powerless, and she only growled in more anger. Mortal, you will show me respect, she hissed, before her magic pressure started to escalate. Naruto watched her grow in size, until she reached nearly 15 feet in height. Her massive bow aimed down at him in preparation to spear him into the ground. Naruto snorted, and then chuckled. And then laughed, and then stopped, dead silence. Behind Artemis, the campers recognized this, and their eyes widened, before turning to the other hunters, and running away, taking cover behind some trees. They even frantically waved at them to join them. Naruto looked up at the goddess, his eyes starting to glow. His voice transformed into this demonic vocal that sent shivers down everyone's spines. Immortals, you are all the same. You relish in your power, and demand that all those beneath you respect you, as if your immortality or power gives you the right. Naruto's body began to shimmer, and glow gold. You demean all those who stand up to you, and kill without remorse, making promises, and oaths knowing full well that you have no intentions of keeping them. What do you have to fear? Naruto's chakra started to pour out of him, amassing around him, and lifting him off the ground, a monstrous form taking shape. I've had enough. I will no longer listen, I will no longer wait. My patience has run out, and as you would rather be enemies, I will show you the error of your ways. A massive golden fox with 9 tails formed around him, Naruto at the head. He kept growing, and growing, and growing. Fairly soon, he towered over Artemis. One of his tails was large enough to fully enclose her with room to spare. His tail swished chaotically as he glared at her from above. The ground beneath him cracked under the weight, and Artemis felt her arms fall to her sides limply as she stared at the creature in front of her. She could see Naruto in the center of the head, staring down at her, a body of gold, radiating power. But she didn't feel threatened. She felt comforted just standing in his aura of power. She felt protected, nurtured, at peace. She felt blessed. She stared numbly at his form, the hunters behind her leaping out of the trees to aid her, forming a protective ring around her, aiming their bows at him. And then the fox disappeared. Naruto fell to the earth, landing gracefully as his golden aura fell away from him. It was absorbed into the trees around him, the wildlife, and the earth. They glowed happily at the energy, and everything that absorbed it just gave off the same aura he did. Like coming home. She stared at the boy in front of her, completely baffled by what she witnessed. The amount of power he just showed, it was on par with Tiffin, the king of monsters. Naruto stared at her hard, glaring. I have decided that I don't like you. I heard stories of how you were one of the most active Olympians, saving girls from their cruel lives at the hands of their fathers, partners, or whatever plagued them. I had hoped that you would have been able to help me, but I see that the stories only pertain to women. You hate being oppressed, and thought less of, and yet you take every opportunity to oppress someone else at every turn, regardless of who they are or what they have done. Naruto turned on his heel, walking away, heading towards the hunters. You really pissed me off. Don't appear before me again, I have nothing to say to you. The hunters were speechless. This boy had just accused them of being as bad as the males. He knows nothing, he is just a boy. Artemis, on the other hand, was thinking back to his aura, his soul. It was so pure. Like the clearest diamond in a mountain of garbage. She watched his retreating form as he walked over to the campers. They all looked relieved that he was okay, and he smiled at them in return, talking of something she couldn't hear. Interesting. Artemis stared at him for a time, before turning to the girls around her. We may camp here. Summon Bianca to my tent after you set up camp. Make a tent for the males as well, far away from ours. They all nodded grudgingly, but moved about their business, though most if not all of them shot dirty looks, and Naruto, who just looked at them, crimson eyes flashing angrily, and they moved off. What was he? He can't be human. Artemis watched him interact with them, how he was always clear of them, even when a few tried to bump into him, and knock him down. He was always aware of what was around him, it was almost like a chaotic dance. Artemis sighed, wondering why she even cared about the boy. She was a maiden goddess after all, none of her concern. She walked forward, and Naruto blatantly ignored her, as if she wasn't even there. It was rather impressive how he could look so passive, and yet somehow always avoid her. It was like she was just another blade of grass in a large field. It angered her to be blatantly disregarded, but she kept her temper. She still believed that she would win in a battle, but she wouldn't be uninjured. His mortality prevented him from being a superior opponent in a battle of endurance. She would win. There was no monster that could not be brought down by her bow. She walked to her tent, which was already set up, and walked in without a word to anyone. Many of the hunters began moving the demigods to their places, though the ones who were talking to the males were obviously disgusted with what was in front of them, and Naruto could see that Percy definitely didn't appreciate it. He watched as Percy got dragged into Artemis's tent with Bianca, and watched Grover lead Neko away while they did so. Naruto's eyes narrowed in anger, taking Neko's only family for your own benefit. You truly can't sink lower. Naruto marshaled him, and walked over to Neko, and Grover, Nice was chatting away excitedly, explaining his game, while Grover looked ready to fall over from the complexity and information he was absorbing. You Neko right? Naruto asked, startling the two. Neko turned, and stared at Naruto with wide eyes. Yeah. What about you? What was that cool thing you did? You turned into a giant fox. Naruto laughed at the boy, and knelt in front of him. Yeah, it's one of the benefits of being me. It's pretty cool, huh? Neko nodded. Yeah. You were so tall. I wish I could see from way up there. Naruto grinned. Really? Well, let's go. What? Neko screamed with laughter as Naruto picked him up, and Naruto jumped really high, and then began running in circles, not even falling. Neko looked around in wonder as Naruto carried him through the sky. How are you doing that? Neko shouted, and Naruto grinned. It's called airwalking. I focus my body's natural energy, and push it forcefully out of my feet as I step. I can't do it for very long yet, but it's pretty cool, huh? More like I'm shoving my chakra down so hard it boosts me upwards, but meh, same difference. It's a miracle you even understand that. Kukyo must have really nailed some stuff in there. Hey. Naruto ran, and ran, Neko laughing the whole way, until he started running back down, a big smile on his face from seeing Neko laugh so hard. Naruto eventually stopped pushing chakra, and ran to a tree, before sticking to it sideways, holding Neko, who shrieked with more laughter as Naruto stayed there. You like Spider-Man? Wow. Naruto laughed. Yeah, I suppose I am, aren't I? Or maybe he is like me. Naruto said with a playful chest puff. Neko giggled, and kicked his feet a bit as he looked down at Grover, who was looking like he had a heart attack. Neko giggled, before looking up at the sky, and smiling. I wish I could stay up there. In the stars nobody can get hurt up there, and nobody can be taken away. He said quietly, and Naruto only smiled, bringing the kid in for a hug. You know, my parents are up there. Neko looked over in shock. Really? Naruto nodded sadly with a smile. Yeah, they sacrificed themselves to protect me the day I was born, and now, they watch over me from way up there. They're gone, Neko. They're always up there, watching you, and caring for you. Whenever you feel alone, you come to me, okay? I'll take you so high that the clouds will be beneath your feet. Not even Zeus can shoot us down. Naruto said with a big smile. Neko looked ready to cry, but he stifled it, and nodded, before hugging Naruto tightly, whispering thanks. Naruto smiled at the kid. He made a silent vow right then and there that he would always be there for the kid, even when he no longer wanted it. If he was in trouble, he would do his absolute best to help him out. Especially with Bianca ditching him, he would need all the help he can get. Naruto jumped down, touching the earth softly, and glaring over to his right, before walking away with a large smile as he listened to Neko talk. From the trees he glared at, Artemis walked out, surprised at being noticed. She was honestly impressed by the boy, which ticked her off to no end. He had so much power, but he never put anyone down, never. He always lifted them up, carrying their weight on his shoulders, and soldiering on. Artemis stared at his retreating form, before vanishing in a silver flash. Naruto and Neko walked back to camp, with Grover pumping Naruto for information on how he was able to run on air. Naruto simply laughed at his questions, and dodged them. He wouldn't understand anyway, and when he answered chakra, he would be screwed with many more questions. So best leave him with one, and call it good. Naruto walked to the boys' tent, seeing it was pretty much empty, and gently set Neko down on a cot. Naruto smiled at the kid. It really was a shame that he had to suffer more, but in the end, it would make him stronger. Like it did him. Naruto focused a bit of his chakra into his hand, letting it glow orange with power, before gently placing it on Neko's forehead. He smiled sleepily, and turned over, content in his current place. Naruto sighed, before turning, and seeing a hunter staring at him. Lady Artemis has summoned you. Naruto looked at her for a long moment, raising an eyebrow. Seriously? After the talking down to, and the glaring. If she demands one thing from me, I swear I'm going to tap all of your power, and show her just what kind of monster she is fucking with. Well, it would kill you in the process, but I guess you would make your point. You could probably handle Kurama, and maybe Matatabi at the same time, but all of us. No, it would make you explode like the world's largest, and most colorful firework. Thanks for the image. Naruto continued to stare at the hunter, who looked to be getting annoyed. Did you hear me? Lady Ard. SHH, you'll wake him. Naruto hissed at her, and she recoiled in shock at being shushed by a boy. She seethed with anger, raising her voice. I don't care, now. Punt. The girl all of a sudden was sent flying backwards, being stopped soon after by an unseen force, and gently placed on the ground. The girl turned to see Artemis standing there with a blank look. Phoebe, where is he? The girl seethed. In that tent, I tried to get him, my lady, but he kicked you out. Yes, I did. The girls turned to see Naruto standing there, hands in his pockets, looking very annoyed. Barging into Neko's tent, declaring that I had been summoned, and then you felt the need to bitch at me, nearly waking the kid up in the process. You're lucky I didn't kill you outright, but Jackson is still in your custody, and I doubt that Artemis would spare him should I end your life. Artemis looked at him steadily. You have killed. Naruto snorted. You wanted to talk. Start talking. Phoebe looked ready to kill him, but Artemis stayed with her with a wave. Phoebe, after setting up the camp, Zoe will need to brief Bianca on her new duties. Naruto frowned. She really gave him up, huh? Wow, you guys really don't care for the lives you leave behind, do you? Artemis replied in an angry tone. She has the right to her own life. She can choose. Naruto disappeared, and reappeared right behind her so fast she didn't even see the blur. And I could choose to spill your blood on the very ground you're standing on. I could choose right. It's my life, right? I can decide, right? Artemis seethed. That's different. Naruto growled so low she felt it vibrate in her bones. Not in the slightest. By making this choice she has forever changed Nako's life. You gods are all the same. It disgusts me. She whirled around to snap at him, but he wasn't there anymore. He was back to where he was before, a perfectly fake smiling face as he looked at her. So tell me, O wise and divine goddesses, what do you want with a little pathetic mortal boy like me? She glared at him. Do you truly hate the Olympians that much? Naruto laughed loudly. Sure do. It's because of one of you I'm stuck in this world. I don't even belong here. She frowned. What? Naruto looked at her annoyed. What, you didn't feel the crowing of the new Lord of the Wild? Her eyes widened. That's supposed to be a secret. How do you know? Because it's me, Moon for brains. Naruto shouted out in anger. Artemis recoiled in shock. Then that power. Naruto snorted. No, that power has never been the Wild's, nor mine for that matter. All I got with the title was a small enhancement to my pre-existing abilities, physical abilities, and increased metabolism, and immunity to some poisons. Pan didn't even tell me what I am supposed to do to get back. Artemis's eyes widened. What? Pan. You saw him. Naruto facepalmed. Oh my kami. He said in despair as he rubbed his eyes. Who else had the title? It sure as hell wasn't Zeus. Thunder rumbled in the night sky, and Naruto only scowled. I don't care what you have to say. Come say it to my face if you want to talk, static prick. Thunder rumbled louder, before fading away, and Naruto snorted, before looking back at Artemis, who was looking at him strangely. It's impossible. You're mortal. Celestial bronze phased through you. How can you hold such power, and remain mortal? Naruto only looked at her, before turning away, and walking back to his tent. Olympians, waste of brain space, a lot of you. Power-hungry fucks, you're just like my old village council, always looking for ways to make your lives better. How low can you get? Artemis considered charging him, but calmed herself. She was only digging a hole, and she needed to learn about Pan. Wait. Naruto stopped, not turning around. Pan summoned me to this world without my consent or want. He pulled me into this dimension, and told me that he had never seen a mortal with such a strong connection to nature as I did. So he gave me his titles and domains, and then faded, leaving me in a subterranean cave in the middle of nowhere. If he isn't dead, I'll kill him myself when I find him. I will return to my world. Artemis stared at him in shock. Pan faded. Naruto just walked off. Oh, she cares. Too bad it's about his power, not the actual guy who possessed it. I really don't like you, so piss off. Artemis seethed, before reappearing before him. How can I trust your word? Naruto stopped, before everything grew deadly quiet. Crickets stopped chirping, animals stopped moving, wind stopped blowing, everything stopped as Naruto froze, before a menacing voice cut though. Do you want to die? Artemis glared. No, I want the truth. Naruto glared at her, his eyes flaring crimson so brilliantly she felt like she was staring at a stoplight. You demean me, then stalk me, then summon me like a dog, then interrogate me, and then you want to question my word. Naruto said venomously. Artemis felt a little fear in her at the tone, but held firm. It concerns the death of another god, so yes, I must make sure. Naruto stood stock still, before calming himself. Artemis, I propose a spar. She raised an eyebrow, but smiled dangerously. What are the terms? Naruto saw her grin, and felt his opinion of her raise a very small bit. If I win, you won't ask me any more questions until I see you next. We will depart on friendly terms, and I am owed one favor. Should you win, I will answer any and all questions regarding Pan that you ask, and I swear it will be the truth. You will have one favor from me. Do we have a deal? Artemis felt her competitive fire brew up. As long as the favors are within our power, I accept. Naruto grinned. No powers, no gifts, only weapons, and fists. Submission or knockout. Is that agreeable? Artemis nodded, before snapping her fingers, and a huntress appeared behind her. Zoe, referee for us, will you? We will be having a spar. No powers, magic, gifts, or outside assistance. Only weapons and fists. Victor on submission or knockout. Stand by. Zoe nodded, before glancing at me suspiciously. Naruto stepped back a few paces, while Artemis copied him. When they stood around 10 paces apart, Zoe appeared with a bow. When the arrow lands. Naruto and Artemis nodded, before staring at each other. Artemis noticed his eyes had shifted back to blue, staring at her like chips of ice. He was a completely different person, she could feel it. Interesting. Zo released her arrow, and Naruto closed his eyes before entering a strange stance. Artemis pulled out her hunting knives and waited. Thanks. Naruto snapped his eyes open and jumped straight up. Artemis watched him rise into the sky, surprised by his physical strength, and then tilted her head to the side as he fell to the earth, fists raised high. Ran. Naruto roared as he slammed his fists into the ground. And it shook. Artemis's eyes whitened in shock as the ground around Naruto shook and exploded, cracking apart as it caved in, forcing the earth around him to uplift and fly into the air. She lost sight of him, and she shot backwards just in time to avoid an attack from above again. She watched as Naruto ran all over the place. She could track him, but wasn't sure she could actually catch him. Then from nowhere, he dived in, throwing a loud round kick directly at her. She jumped over it, and only had time to block his reverse sidekick, as she was sent flying backwards into the trees, Naruto in hot pursuit. The sounds of combat echoed through the forest as the two tussled. Naruto let out some laughs as he relished in the combat. He wasn't battle crazy, but it was exhilarating nonetheless. Artemis was also enjoying herself, though she would never admit it. She continued to charge at him, and they fought. Explosions of dirt and trees falling echoed like thunder. Then Naruto came sailing out of the tree line, skidding to a halt as he looked up to see Artemis charging at him. He grinned, before rolling up his pant legs. Artemis stopped her advance as she watched him carefully. Was he finally going to draw a weapon? Nope. Naruto revealed a pair of weights hiding underneath, and he took them off, holding them both in each hand. He had a crazy grin on his face, and stared at her with glee. Let's see if you can keep up. Artemis was about to retort on how a few little weights wouldn't make that much of a difference. Until he dropped them. They crashed to the ground with a loud clang, and a plume of dust. Artemis's and Zo's mouths dropped along with their audience as Naruto grinned and bounced on his feet. He rolled up his sleeves to reveal others on his arms, but he didn't move them, only letting her know they were there. Let's dance. He laughed as he streaked forward, slinging the goddess back into the forest. He followed in hot pursuit, laughing the whole way. The hunters and demigods watched with wide eyes as they witnessed and heard the two fighters battle each other back and forth. They continued to sling each other back into the trees before catapulting after them. One thing stood out the most though. They were smiling, grinning from ear to ear. After a solid 20 minutes, Naruto walked out of the tree line, a goddess in his arms. She looked pretty beaten up, but she had a smile on her face as her eyes were closed. I accept defeat, she murmured, and Naruto chuckled, gently placing her on the ground in front of the hunters. He raised both hands and gently guided them down her full form like a scan. His hands passed over her wounds and injuries healed. Her face had a faint blush as she smiled at the feeling of his aura. Naruto made sure his hands never came into contact as he went. He didn't have the energy to harden his skin, so if the hunters wanted they could shoot him, and it would probably hurt like a bitch. He sighed in relief as he let his hands fall to his sides. He looked at the crowd, and saw Neko standing nearby with stars in his eyes. Naruto, you're so cool. Naruto just stared at him for a second before laughing outright, giggling to himself as he waved him over. Neko came over and hugged him, and Naruto returned it before smiling. Hey man, can you help me up? My legs aren't that steady. Neko laughed and struggled to lift him, and Naruto smiled at him. He really was a nice kid. He was about to shove himself up when he felt his other arm being grabbed and his weight being lifted. He turned and saw Zo, the referee, lifting him up. Why? He asked. Zo didn't answer at first, but looked him in the eye. My lady hasn't had that much fun in some time. The Olympians can't actively fight each other, and many monsters hardly pose a challenge. She could fight to her best today, and you never looked down on her or gloated of your victory. It's the least I can do. She finished, before looking forward and walking with him. She and Neko struggled to support him, and he chuckled at their expressions. After they got to Neko's tent, they sat Naruto on a bed, and he smiled at them gratefully. Thanks for the help Neko, you too Zo, you may not be as bad as I thought you were. She snorted, likewise. Naruto grinned evilly, you know those weights I dropped. She nodded, confused by his grin. Do you think you could? I don't know, see if Grover can lift them. She glared at him, do you doubt that I could? Did she not realize he was setting up a prank for him? Naruto shook his head, no. But that would be funny. She glared at him, I'll be back. Or she could willingly be pranked by him, either one works. She stormed out of the tent, and Naruto giggled, hey Neko, watch her. It'll be hilarious. Neko poked his head out, while Naruto dragged himself across the floor, and put his head out. Zo had just gotten to his weights, and gave an experimental tug on his weights, finding that they were in fact heavy. Naruto and Neko giggled as they saw her crouch low, and try to lift it with both hands. She managed to get the first few plates off the ground, but they fell back with a thud. She glared at the weights, before glancing back at the tent, and seeing Naruto and Neko staring at her, their cheeks puffed out with laughter. She glared at them, before trying again. And again. And again. Eventually, 2 or 3 hunters managed to pick up a leg weight, and carry it over to where Naruto was laying down. They grinned at him before dropping it on his back, taking satisfaction at hearing his breath woof out of his lungs. They laughed, but when they saw Naruto's grin, they stopped. "I do believe I had 2 weights," he said innocently, and they paled and glared at him, looking over and seeing that there was indeed 1 more weight in a little crater, and groaned. 2 more hunters later, and Naruto had both weights on his back, though he never stopped laughing. They glared at him in embarrassment, but they couldn't seem to stay mad at him. His laughter was just so infectious. They picked up the weights just to drop it back on him, but that only made him laugh harder. Especially when they tried to pick up both sets at the same time. They ended up losing it, and smashing their head together as one fell forward onto Naruto's back. They joined him in his laughter at that, but they soon realized what they were doing, and glared at him, though their blushes only made it funnier. After a while, they finally left him alone, and Zoe helped him back on his mattress, but before she could leave, Naruto asked her a question. "Do you allow pranks in the hunt?" She seemed thoughtful, but nodded, "Yes, though everyone is too afraid to prank me, and Lady Artemis." Naruto grinned, and then gave a sinister troublemaker laugh. "Well, my new accomplice, what do you say we change that?" Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.